It was Christmas time in Madison, Wisconsin. The air was crisp and the town square was decorated. Lights twinkled on evergreen trees. A beautiful nativity scene sat peacefully, reminding everyone of a baby born in a manger long ago. It was a picture of hope and joy. But this year, a new sign appeared right next to the display. It was not a message of Christmas cheer. This sign came from an atheist group. It was meant to challenge the very heart of the season. It wanted to make people question everything they believed about this special time of year. The words on the sign were stark and direct. They declared that there were no gods or devils, no angels, no heaven, and no hell. It claimed that our world was only what we could see and touch, nothing more. Religion, the sign said, was just a myth, a superstition, something that trapped minds and hardened hearts. The message was clear. Forget the story of the baby in the manger. Forget the songs about angels and shepherds. Just trust in what you can prove. It was a bold statement, placed right in the middle of a season dedicated to faith and mystery. Imagine the people who walked by. Some might have been angered, others perhaps confused. A few might have even nodded in agreement. The sign stood in silent opposition to the gentle scene beside it. Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus represented a story of divine love. The sign represented a story of human reason alone. It was a clash of two very different worldviews, happening right there in the town square. It was a reminder that not everyone sees Christmas through the same eyes, and not everyone welcomes the story it tells. The sign was meant to cast a shadow over the nativity. It aimed to make the Christmas story seem foolish, like a children's fairy tale that grown-ups should leave behind. The group wanted people to see the lights and the decorations and think, this is all just a nice story, but it isn't real. They wanted to replace the wonder of the season with cold, hard logic. But as we will see, their sign ended up doing something they likely never intended. It accidentally pointed back to the very truth it tried to deny in a most unexpected way. Now, here is where the story takes a fascinating turn. If you were to walk around to the back of this very serious, very logical sign, you would find another message. It was a simple warning, one you have probably heard 1,000 times. 4 simple words were printed there for all to see. The words were, "Thou shalt not steal." It was a practical message. The sign was probably expensive to make, and the group did not want anyone to take it. They wanted their property to be respected. They wanted people to do the right thing. Think about those words for a moment. Thou shalt not steal. Where have we heard that before? It's not from a science textbook. It's not a conclusion from a philosopher's debate. Those words come directly from the Bible. They are one of the 10 Commandments, the very same book that tells the story of the baby in the manger, the angels, and the shepherds. The book the sign on the front called a myth. Isn't that interesting? The front of the sign declared that religion was a superstition, but the back of the sign used one of its most famous rules. The irony is almost poetic. To protect their sign that denied God, the group borrowed a rule from God's own law book. They were, in a way, leaning on the very foundation they were trying to tear down. They didn't write, "We would prefer if you didn't take our sign, as it is our property." No, they used a command, a commandment, a declaration that stealing is wrong. It was a powerful universal statement. But it also carried with it the echo of the mountain where Moses received the law from God himself. This little detail changes everything. It shows us something incredibly important about how we all think and live. The group wanted to protect their sign, which is understandable, but in doing so, they appealed to a shared sense of right and wrong. They assumed that everyone who saw the sign would agree that stealing is wrong. They were counting on a moral law that everyone, religious or not, seems to understand. But this raises a much bigger question. If there is no God, where does a rule like "thou shalt not steal" get its power? If our world is only material as the front of the sign claimed, then right and wrong are just opinions. They are just ideas that people made up. One person might say stealing is wrong, another might say it is fine if you can get away with it. Without a higher authority, who is to say which person is right? If there is no God, then the command "thou shalt not steal" is no different than saying "I don't like it when you take my things." It has no real power. It's just one person's preference against another's. But we all know deep down that some things are truly wrong. Stealing is wrong. Lying is wrong. Hurting people is wrong. We don't just feel this way, we believe it to be true for everyone, everywhere. We make laws based on this belief. We teach it to our children. We expect our neighbors to live by it. This deep sense of morality is like a compass inside our hearts. always pointing toward a true north of goodness. But a compass needs a magnetic north to work. Our moral compass needs a source of goodness to point to. This is what the sign on the back was really saying without even knowing it. By quoting the commandment, the sign's creators were admitting that a universal law exists. They were tapping into a truth that is bigger than any one person or group. The Bible tells us that this sense of right and wrong was placed in our hearts by our Creator. It's His signature on every soul. He is the standard for all that is good, just and true. He is the reason why "thou shalt not steal" is more than just a suggestion. It is a reflection of His perfect character. So the atheist sign, in its attempt to dismiss God, accidentally made a powerful case for Him. The front said there is no heaven, but the back hinted at a heavenly law. The front said religion enslaves minds, but the back relied on a religious principle to protect itself. The very ground they stood on to argue against God was ground that God Himself had created. They were using His own rules in a game where they claimed He didn't exist. This beautiful irony points us back to the manger. It reminds us why the story of Christmas is so important. The Bible gives us laws, like the Ten Commandments, for a very specific reason. They are not just a list of rules to make us feel bad. They are like a mirror. When we look into the mirror of God's perfect law, we see that we cannot keep it perfectly. We have all fallen short. We have all in some way broken the rules. I have. You have. We have all stolen something, whether it's an object, someone's trust, or God's glory. The law shows us that we are in need of help. We are in need of a Savior. This is the message of Christmas. This is why the baby in the manger matters so much. God saw that we could not reach Him on our own. He knew the law would only show us our brokenness. So, He came to us. Jesus was born. He lived a perfect life, the only one who ever kept all the rules. He came to do for us what we could never do for ourselves. He came to offer forgiveness. He came to offer hope to every one of us who has looked in the mirror of the law and seen our own failures. The nativity scene and the atheist sign, standing side by side, told the whole story. The sign on the back declared, the law, "thou shalt not steal." It reminded us of the standard. The nativity scene in the front showed us the solution, Jesus. The law shows us our need, and Jesus is the answer to that need. He is the gift of grace. He is the forgiveness for every broken commandment. He is the hope that even though we are lawbreakers, we can be made right with God. That is the incredible news of Christmas. So, in the end, even a sign meant to challenge faith can become a witness for it. It can point people back to the very questions that lead to the manger. It reminds us that we all live by a moral code, and that code comes from somewhere, and it reminds us that we all fall short of that code and need forgiveness. This Christmas, when you see the lights and hear the carols, remember the reason for it all. Because of Bethlehem there is hope, there is forgiveness, there is a Savior born for you,